Which is a very political anime, Connor.
It's okay. Well,
it is a very political
what?
anime.
You told me One Piece is very political.
Yes.
What aspect?
In the eyes of the world government, Monkey D. Luffy is a terrorist. And not for nothing, if he was in our own world, he would most definitely be labeled a terrorist here as well. Now, this is not a hot take, or at least not one that should be hot, but based off of the insufferable podcast clips that I played at the start of this video, and the even worse response by quote-unquote One Piece fans, I feel I'm compelled to explain something that should just be common knowledge as long as you have the media literacy of a middle schooler. First, let's define what a terrorist is. And there are two main definitions that the FBI uses, that being international terrorism, which are violent criminal acts committed by individuals and or groups who are inspired by or associated with foreign terrorist organizations, and then domestic terrorism, which are violent criminal acts committed by individuals and or groups to further ideological goals stemming from domestic influences, such as political, religious, social, racial, or economic reasons. And now, let's discuss what the Straw Hats do in One Piece. The Straw Hats are a group of pirates, which makes them outlaws in both the world of One Piece and our own world. They then go around from town to town, or city to city, very often fighting against the world government. And the world government in One Piece is a powerful, central organization made up of over 170 countries that was formed 800 years ago by 20 kingdoms, and it is a totalitarian, aristocratic, global regime that controls most of the world with an iron fist. To disrespect or push back against anyone affiliated with the world government would be to wage war on the world that they control itself. This government controls millions of Marines, has mercenaries that work for them, absolute control over some of the most powerful individuals on the planet, and they run a rigid and brutal class system that promotes slavery, human trafficking, murder, rape, genocide, and misery across the globe. And for all intents and purposes, they just do not give a single shit about the average person in the One Piece world. And Luffy's entire arc, and by virtue the Straw Hats at large, make it their mission to throw up a giant middle finger to this brutal regime whenever they get the chance to do so. Let's start with the easiest example, Enies Lobby. Enies Lobby is a world government fortress and the headquarters of the assassination unit CP9, which are a group of private government assassins, might I add, located on an island where night never falls. It's a key pillar of power for the world government, and the Enies Lobby arc revolves around one of the Straw Hats, Nico Robin, being taken into custody because she's the only person in the world who has access to an ancient language that the world government has tried to wipe off of the map in order to hide the potential atrocities that they have committed and the truth of the world at large. And at the height of this arc, a figurehead in this government points to a flag with the world government symbol and tells Luffy to his face that because he is a part of what that flag stands for, Luffy can't touch him, and they just have to deal with the oppression that the government and this world brings. And do you want to guess what Luffy does with that information? He shoots down the goddamn flag.
Sniper King. Shoot down that flag.
Roger.
No way!
You're all going to die!
Yeah? Bring it on!
And declares war on the world government itself. And in this moment, for all intents and purposes, the Straw Hat crew become terrorists from the perspective of the world government. These are individuals who rolled up to one of the most important political bases in the world, caused millions of dollars worth of damage, burned the world government flag in front of thousands of people, and then led in the escape of one of the most wanted people in the world. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. In the eyes of the world government, this is nothing short of terrorism. Which is why, directly after this moment, the Straw Hat Crew's bounties spike and continue to go up, because the world government views them as people so dangerous to the status quo that they are willing to pay upwards of 8 billion berries to anyone who aids in the capture of the Straw Hat Crew. Another example of Luffy specifically doing something that would absolutely fall under the scope of terrorism is what occurs during the Marineford saga. During this saga, Monkey D. Luffy personally breaks into the Marines' personal prison where they hold some of the most serious threats to the world, releasing some of the most dangerous criminals the One Piece world has ever seen. He then falls out of the sky to land at Marineford, which is the base of the Marine headquarters, and becomes one of the most important people in regards to the destruction of the Marine headquarters itself. Then he helps release the son of Gold D. Roger, and just generally speaking, Luffy heavily messes with the Marines and what they represent to the world during the Marineford saga. And to be quite honest with you, this is just a quick oversimplification of 2 arcs that take up less than 10% of an over 1100 chapter long manga. And if I went over every single moment of politics in the world of One Piece, each and every arc would take me up to 10 hours long. But hey, if that's something you're interested in, maybe I can do it in the future. But to just go over a few more, the first major arc in One Piece is Arlong Park, and the head villain of that arc turned out to be part of a marginalized group that was forced into slavery and abused at a young age, turned oppressor, in a very tragic and realistic example of what oppression can do to the oppressed. Alabasta's story is one of a power-hungry warlord turning a country against itself through the use of propaganda in order to obtain an ancient weapon called Pluton, that way Crocodile could have power able to rival the world government. Skypiea explores the issues presented with colonialism, displacement, and religious fanaticism, and what it can do to a beautiful place. Sabaody Archipelago, Fishman Island, and Punk Hazard cover themes of slavery, human trafficking, government experimentation, and much more. And do you want to know what Monkey D. Luffy does when he is faced with a celestial dragon, who are the literal world nobles that are sacred and a major symbol of power, corruption, and oppression in this world? Luffy breaks every rule in the book and rocks one of them with one of the hardest and most deserved hits ever brought to the manga world. And I want to make this very clear. The Celestial Dragons view themselves as gods that live above the rest of the world. They live in the Holy Land in massive mansions, where they have so much wealth that the concept itself is almost irrelevant to them. And Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates at large, striking and waging a war against these Celestial Dragons, is viewed as nothing more than terrorism to the world government. And with all that being said, before I conclude this video, I want to go over what our main character Luffy himself represents in the truest sense. Luffy represents true, undeniable freedom. Luffy's goal and dream is to be the freest man in the seas, a man who isn't bound by the rules set by the government. That's why he becomes a pirate in the first place. Not for money or because he wants to be some kind of scoundrel, just because he wants to be free, and he views being a pirate as the freest thing that you can be in the world. And he goes around from place to place, from town to town, from person to person, liberating them from oppression. It's genuinely insane how often he does this. Almost every single arc revolves around Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates going to a new place, finding an issue of oppression or conflict, and helping the people of that place overcome that conflict in the short and sometimes long term. Not only that, but Luffy's power and what's revealed at the end of the Wano arc further this point. Nika is less a man and more the shape of a dream. The ancients called him the sun god, the warrior of liberation, a figure who laughed, danced, and broke the chains of oppression. For the slaves who first whispered his name, he wasn't just a story, he was something that kept them going. He represented the one truth that could never be taken from them, that oppression is never eternal, that somewhere beyond the suffering there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that freedom is not just possible, but something that is inevitable. That's why his name survived. It's carried by people who yearn for a better tomorrow. And the government tried to burn this away from history. They renamed the fruit, twisted the truth, and tried to bury the memory of Nika, because they knew what Nika really was. The embodiment of an idea that they could never control. Freedom itself. But through Luffy, through Joy Boy, this fantasy becomes reality. Nika was never meant to be a single person stuck in one place. He is a role that keeps reappearing when the world needs him most. A symbol of living rebellion and liberation and joy. His power isn't just about being strong, it's about the ability to transcend oppression itself. Nika exists every time someone chooses freedom over power, every time someone dares smile in the face of adversity. And that is the character of Monkey D. Luffy, the antithesis to oppression itself, freedom in its rawest and most beautiful form, which is why the world government is so terrified of him and the Straw Hats at large. To them, the Straw Hats are terrorists, because they inspire terror in the world government, and the nobles, due to the fact that their actions and very existence runs in direct opposition to what the world government has been attempting to accomplish for thousands of years. Absolute control. So yeah, in the world of One Piece, based off of the status quo set by the world government, the Straw Hat Pirates and Monkey D. Luffy are most definitely terrorists. But that's the beauty of it. In a world built on lies, control, and oppression, the ones who are branded as the terrorists are the ones who are fighting for true freedom. With all that being said, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and expect more One Piece content in the future, because man, am I excited to talk about it.